Here's why heaven and hell don't exist. In this video, I want to talk to you why heaven and hell, they don't exist. They don't exist. They don't exist in the sense you may think they exist, right? When you hear the word heaven, when you hear the word hell, what do you think of? You think of a place you go to when you die, right? If you were a sinful individual, doing things you shouldn't have done, not following certain moral practices, not being a good human being overall, okay? You go to what they call hell. And if you were someone, a righteous individual, of service to people, and you weren't sinning, right? You were following the path that was laid out for you for certain religions, you go to heaven. I don't believe in that. I believe that heaven and hell do exist, but they're states of consciousness. Meaning, you actually experience heaven or hell right now on earth. I think it's a spectrum, right? It's like heaven is all the way here and hell is all the way here. And a lot of us operate, between the two. Certain people operate way more in the hellish state, and other people operate way more in the heavenly state. And I think you can just draw so many examples where it's so analogous to your life, this idea of you living in this heavenly state or hellish state, right? An example, yesterday I went to an ecstatic dance here in Guatemala. Vibes are good, the dancing, people are expressing themselves how they want to express, everyone's laughing, there's a bonfire, there's music, instruments. That is more on the heavenly state, right? Just to be yourself, be free, and be whoever you want to be. And then the hellish state could be something like, what's an example? Watching porn, masturbation, doing something you shouldn't be doing. I think that builds, that ends up going into it. You end up getting into a lower frequency of shame, guilt, fear, like the lowest vibration possible. And I think that experience of going through that is a hellish state. Now it's all relative. So the drug addict could be going from a amazingly heavenly state, being on drugs, the most euphoric feeling ever, like shooting at meth. I heard of meth or heroin, like you feel unstoppable, right? Like there's no pain, there's no hell. It's a heavenly state. But then after, what comes up must fall down. So they go from a heavenly state all the way to a hellish state, and they're experiencing that in this reality. Now look, you could argue whether or not they're actually in a heavenly state on drugs. A lot of people say that they could be connected to God on certain drugs, on any of these drugs really. It's up to you to decide whether or not you believe that's a heavenly state or not. To me, I just view it as a different state of consciousness. And I do believe you could access these heavenly state just through these different states of consciousness. Whether you should do it or not, that's not the point. The point is that what you're feeling, the current state of what you're feeling, is more towards a heavenly state. Not to say I'm advocating for that. I'm just saying it's interesting to see how it's almost like a scale that rebalances itself out. Where you experience these super good moments, these highs, and then all of a sudden these lows. It's almost like yin and yang, right? So I do believe that a lot of people believe that heaven and hell being something you go to afterwards is a way to control people, is a way to control people out of fear if they don't do this, do that, then they'll be going to a place they don't want to go, right? And I think there's some truth to that. I think that's pretty valid. So when I say I don't believe in heaven and hell, I just don't believe in the mainstream narrative of what that looks like, right? You gotta ask yourself, it's really getting pushed down upon so many people, so many Christians, so many different religions. Should you believe in it? I'm someone who was raised to believe in this, right? In my religion, I'm raised to believe in once you die, you go to a place if you were, a good human being or not. I've had to like rewire my belief system and actually ask myself, like, does this make sense? Does this serve me? Does this serve me? Okay, I think that's the bottom line. Does this serve me? It's not like I'm smarter than other people, or like I'm more intellectual and like thinking more about, oh, well, you know, that wouldn't make sense going to heaven and hell. It's like, that could make sense, but does it serve me? The answer is no, for me. If it serves you, it serves you, right? So I'm not talking about things so dogmatically, right? This is all just like subjective. Nobody knows any of these answers. These are the life's biggest questions. But does it serve me? Does it serve me to know that there's someone always watching down on me, knowing, and if I don't do the right things, then I'll be going to this hell? Or does it serve me to just act out of good faith because that's my nature, and that's, you know, the God, and that's a source channeling through me, and by doing that, that allows me to just experience the fruits of my labor right now, knowing that if I do good now, whether it's an afterlife or whether it is a heaven and hell, I know I'll still be going there. So I think it's not like you should not, you know, it's not like I'm telling you you should be sinful, you know. It's more so just like, it doesn't need to be so rigid. Like, I think all the sins you would agree, like, you know, not to do, right? Like, if you could not lie, if you could not, you know, have lust control your life, and these different aspects of life, it's like right in front of us. And I think the more we return to nature, the more we return to our true essence, it's all right in front of us, whether it's with psychedelics or whatnot. So I think, ask yourself what serves you. If you do believe heaven and hell state, like afterlife, serve you, by all means, opt into that belief system, subscribe into that belief system, but actually ask yourself, does it serve me, right? Too many people are just flocking with the birds, and they're just, you know, going along with the crowd, with everyone else. That used to be me, based off my religion, based off, you know, what people told me of what God looked like, what God is. But only you really know what God is, what God feels like, right? So I believe it's inside us all. And just ask yourself, like, how can I live the best human experience and be a service to God and have that, you know, have that roll over to whatever's next, right? So just being in alignment with your soul, that's really the main point I'm getting at. As long as you're in alignment, that's the most important thing. And try to be not acting out of fear, right? When you act out of fear, it's like you need to act into fear, not out of fear, if that makes sense. When you feel the fear, act into it. Act into your highest excitement, right? So don't be so caught up in these rigid belief systems that I believe don't serve a lot of people. Formulate your own. Some of that will be within your own religion, your own tribe, your own community. But after that, just roll with the flow. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to connect with me, have a call. I do one-on-one mentorship, but also I'm open to speaking to more people who want to connect over these topics, different things. I also host community, and I'm building tribes around the world for like-minded people that want to ascend and, you know, really just be a part of something bigger than themselves. So I hope you enjoyed that. Links down below. And as always, much love, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.